this might be my favorite racket so far that I reviewed. Hi everybody, it's Alex and today we're gonna do the review of the Volkl vcell 10 300 gram. Let's go! Alright, so we're now up with a new Volkl review. This one will be a very interesting review because I feel like for most of the people this is a really interesting racket. So let's go straight up with the specs and then we're gonna talk about it. So this is a 300 gram, like I've said, racket with a 98 square inch head size, and it has a 16 by 19 string pattern. The balance of this racket is 32.5 centimeters. So the specs of the racket really shows you how the racket should play. So it should be a really good overall racket. I don't expect a lot of power, a lot of control, a lot of spin. I feel like it's gonna be a blend of everything. The beam of this racket is 20.5, 22, 20.5. So a really classic beam, but you know, it's what I expect from Volkl. I feel like this racket, like I said earlier, is gonna be just a blend of everything. I expect this racket to be not good for something, you know, special, but just really being good for everything. The thing that I don't know if you can see on the camera, but the head shape is kind of weird. It's the Volkl classic head shape, so at around, I would say 3 and 9, it's a bit closer to the middle. It's not like as expanded as you know you would normally with a Yonex or a Wilson, so should provide a bit more control because of that. But at the same time, you know, it means that the sweet spot is gonna be maybe a bit more towards the middle. Talking about the cosmetic, I would say I'm not a fan of the cosmetic. Actually, the paint job is cool, but I don't like the yellow. For me, it feels too much like of a cheap racket. I know it's not a cheap racket, but it feels like a cheap racket. I don't like the yellow with the mix of the red. But like I said, it's not a cheap racket. It's a really high-end racket. If you don't know, Volkl are not sponsoring a high-level ATP or WTA player. They want to focus more on developing the racket. So the money that they save by not sponsoring player, they're putting it into the R&D for the racket. So let's go on the court with this one and let's see how it plays. Alright, with the Volkl vcell 10 300 gram on the court, I felt, you know, that this racket was easy to play with, but at the same time it doesn't mean that this racket has too much power and that it doesn't have any feel. It's easy to play with, but at the same time you feel like you have the control, you still have a bit of power, and you also have a lot of spin. And that's something that I really felt when I was playing on the court, is that if I want to play a shot with a lot of spin that is you know, creating a heavy ball, it could do it. If I want to go with a bit more touch, for example a drop shot or a volley, it can do it. So yeah, it can really recreate everything that you want. So it's responding to what you are doing. So if you are not really doing the right technique, obviously it can be a bit tougher to play with this racket, but when you have the right technique, it's easy to play with. Overall, it's just fun to play, you know, if you're a recreational player or you're a competitive player, this could be a good option. I've seen many good junior players switch to this racket, so that could be a good option. And I would say finally that for the serve, it's a crazy good racket. The acceleration is easy because it's a 300 gram, so the ball is going through the air really fast, and for the spin it's pretty good also. Alright, so I have to say, this might be my favorite racket so far that I reviewed. At the beginning I was saying like this racket should be like a good overall racket. Yes it is, but I have to say it has incredible spin, it has incredible control, and still a lot of power. So yes, it's a really good racket. And one thing that I really like with this one is that, you know, I would say an intermediate player can play with it and really enjoy it as a, I would say, more of a control oriented racket. a more advanced player could really enjoy also to play with this racket, but is gonna feel that this racket is gonna be a bit more towards the powerful side. But I feel like everybody can enjoy this racket. The 90 square inch head size really makes the difference for me. I think it's creating a bit more control, and for the rest of the racket, you know, it's really good. So if you're playing with the Head Radical MP, even maybe the Gravity MP, the Wilson Blade 16x19, the Babola Pure Strike, this could be a really good option. If you're not familiar with Volkl and you're not sure if you want to try it or not, I have to say you need to try this. So it's now time for the rating of this racket. I'm kind of shocked because, you know, my first review was the new Head Radical Pro, and I really enjoyed this racket, and I thought that no other racket could be higher than this one, but I think this one gets the first place. So for the Head Radical Pro, I gave a 8.75 out of 10, so I have to give this racket a 9 out of 10. Finally, I just want to say that I know that there's a weight added to the racket. It's just because it's my dad's racket, but I didn't took it into consideration during the review. Thanks for watching. Hope you have liked the video. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.